Let's go. It's opening day. RIP Mamba forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome, welcome to URF Tone Tuesday. As the song lets you know, we got something for you. I represent one half of the clique, the United Republic of Funk, aka URF Tone. I am Ela the MC, and join with me as always is my brother, my partner in rhyme, the world famous NIC.
Yes, sir. We here, man. Another week. A lot of good things on the horizon. We was talking about chopping it up before we said action, about happiness and contentment and the Lakers and the season popping off, and we didn't even get into Draymond Green and
Nah,
yeah. So we got a lot. We got a lot to cover today.
we got a lot. I wish, I don't wish. let me watch my words. Part of me is like, man, we should. What's up, Dora?
What up, Dora?
Thank you for rolling through as always. Part of me is like, man, like when we're having moments like we were having, we jump on just to take a step back real quick. NIC and we had some URF Tone business dealings we needed to get, to sort out. And so we said, hey, let's just hop on, and we're using the very same screen sharing thing that broadcasts URF Tone Tuesday. It's like, yo, let's just jump on early, figure out what we got to figure out. But we did that fairly quickly, and then we just get into these conversations, and we go down, and it gets deep, and it really is the essence of how this thing works. Our dynamic and our bond is like the Trojan horse is hip hop. It's like that's just what it is. Like when you get these brotherhoods, it's like, oh, you could be 10 years old, or you could be like 20 years old. Like when we met out, like around 20 years old or whatever. I'm like, but it's like, oh, what are you into? I like basketball. Cool, me too. Who do you like? This player. Why? Because you play like that. I like that too. You get nuance. Hey, what do you like? Hip hop. All right, cool. What kind of hip hop? Such and such. Me too. All right. Well, that says something about the character. So now you're like, I feel subconsciously you're like, oh, I feel comfortable going a little bit further, because those superficial things, the surface things suggest this is a safe space. We can talk about some shit. Basically, we can talk about it, and that's what we do. And I was like, man, I wish we had the camera rolling right now, but we were also talking about people's business, and it wouldn't be the time to to have a camera on too. So we talk about it more in concept for the public. So
let's just frame it not in a gossipy type of way, but just
certain
things. It's we are referencing people, and we would never want to blow their spot up like that. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for
private. And yeah, we wasn't gossiping. We was just talking about.
It's like is a well-wished love. I hope they're doing okay conversation, but we just not for airing out on the public platform.
Yeah.
Before we hit the launch button, sending more proper love to Dora. Keep chiming in, weighing in. We really appreciate you. And then before we hit the launch button, you said that you had something. You had something bubbling in your mind, and I'm curious on what that is.
Well, again, I know that you are not a Ye fan, but we had to bring it up because I think the shop, who we are both avid watchers of the shop when we can, you know what I mean? They have great guests, great content, whatnot, decided to not air his interview.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also heard that recently Drink Champs interview was taken down. What up?
Dijon, what up?
The Drink Champs, they decided to take that down.
Yeah.
So, in light of that, we don't have to make any commentary on Ye unless you want to, but I know that you typically
wait, you said Drink Champs took it down?
I heard that. This is what I just recently heard today.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, they took the interview down Again, so how do you feel about both of those interviews being taken? Did you happen to see any of the interview? First of all,
no, I wouldn't dignify it with my time.
I assume so.
That thing,
Yeah.
This that thing that I've been talking about, and an exception would be that genius doc that like was told through the lens of somebody doing their work in earnest. Cootie, the dude who rolled the camera, who told the story, who even shared his own story and his own dealings in there. But obviously the focus was Ye. Again, Ye's trajectory breaks my heart because I'm really a fan. Like I really latched on closely to the person, the creative mastermind responsible for the college dropout, and for my money's worth through Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like I'm like that run is crazy. And it puts him in very rare air as far as like Michael Jackson tore up the 80s with 3 albums, I believe, right? It was like
Thriller
and Bad. And then that was like that crazy run, like Kanye's run was crazy. And you obviously grow a sense of attachment as a fan. And so little things that kind of were indicators that we're coming to this bigger thing. Like, let me know. I saw, Marcellus Wiley, who I've been a fan of Marcellus Wiley. He's a sports analyst for those who don't know, but, former football player, but he got on and he became, him and Max Kellerman, another, highly regarded, sports journalist. They had their LA radio show and they were so funny together. I've been a fan of his ever since. And I saw on Twitter, in light of the Shop's decision to not proceed to air that episode with Ye, they said, is this some shut up and rap? Like trying to basically spin on LeBron James the notion of shut up and dribbles. Like, is this your version of shut up and rap? Are you censoring, And that's Marcellus's style. It's like borderline trolling and it's supposed to provoke thought. And I'm like, all right, well, this is the conversation you want to have. No, it's not shut up and rap. It's you can't say that on my show. You know what I mean? Telling LeBron what he can and cannot say on somebody else's platform is out of turn for that Fox News anchor at the time. LeBron saying, hey, I got you on my show and you are speaking reckless. LeBron, like, I'm not about to go down in flames with you. LeBron is like as astute as they come and knows exactly how to navigate whatever it is he's doing for his brand. His biggest blunder was the decision, which ended up as a donation of $1 million to the Boys and Girls Club at the time. Like that's his big, big blemish on his track record. But I'm all for people, cooling that off. And it's not personal to him. I don't like everything that's like, yo, there's some reckless shit happening right now. Everybody bring the cameras here. Let my show feed off of it. Let your show feed off of it. Let Twitter trend off of it. Let everything, like, let's buzz around, it's like all this shock and awe type of content. And so whether this man is actually going through episodes or whether he is, being a mastermind of controversy, who's like, yo, I'm going to keep my name bubbling. Whatever the end or whatever the bottom line is there, the story behind it is, it's like, I don't like that people feed off of it. I think it reflects poorly on values or lack of values in our society. To be like, yo, this guy is saying reckless things, and this is where it's at. This is where it's at. Let's try to get some attention on him. Let's get some cameras on him. So as far as I'm concerned, once again, LeBron and his camp did it right. They're like, let's have, I'm sure through all their years of, you know, they became very prominent in those early 2000s up until now. So I'm sure there's a relationship between LeBron and Ye. Let's get the homie on. Let him say what he got to say. Yo, that's too much. We are opting out of this one. They've exercised their right. I didn't know Drink Champs pulled it down. I was disappointed when I saw Nori like, well, you could have the conversation over here. And I understand why, but I reserve the right to be disappointed. I understand why. It's going to draw viewership, and that's your bottom line goal, so it's good for business. I'll be disappointed when people opt for the bottom line of their business when it's at the expense of sort of something that's greater and bigger than their business. And I will not only just stay flat when people make the right decision, I will also, properly give a salute to those who say, might be good for business, but it's not good. So let me just not proceed. I'm with that. What are your thoughts?
I was torn, man. Which when it comes to Ye in particular, I'm torn most of the time, and I would say I'm probably as torn as I'll just say Middle America is when it comes to Farrakhan, and the reason why I say it is like this because. To Middle America, I'm not even saying white America. I'm not saying Jews. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying Middle America. If you're a rational thinking person, if you're a rational, even keeled, not shock jock, not getting caught up in if you just take things for face value and actually think them through, kind of like almost like what the joke that Chris Rock has. It says like the older he gets, he finds that he's conservative on some things and he's liberal on some certain things. You start to own a home, you start to, property taxes. You start to worry about, when you're young, graffiti is an art. You know what I mean? When you get older, you're like, hey, it's still an art, but I don't want you vandalism. Right, my property. So it's I think that's why I say Middle America. If you're a rational thinking Middle American person that will take information in and say, okay, how do I really feel about that? You probably have mixed emotions about Farrakhan because you'll listen to what he says and you got to say, damn, that's a good point. That is a great point.
I've only seen great point snippets, and I gotta ask for some of the stuff that he said that may have struck up more controversy, because the only things I ever see, and I'm obviously not well versed in like his deeper works, but everything I see, I'm like he just kind of dropping jewels, and it just seemed like he's razor sharp in the mind, and he's ready for whatever reporter comes for him, and he checkmates him every time. That's all I see though.
Yeah, and I could understand if I was Jewish or if I was, just typical white America, how they vilify him and how they put him out there. He could seem anti-Semitic. He could seem like he's, pro-black at the expense of being anti-white. There's a lot of commentaries that kind of revolve around Farrakhan. So I get that. But what I'm saying, my point to that is like, when it comes to Ye, I feel torn like a white person in Middle America listening to Farrakhan, because you really have to separate the wheat from the chaff. It is going to directly affect you in the way that you think. You're going to have to kind of like digest it and chew on it and chew it over. And so with Ye, I feel the same way. Like I never put a ton of weight on him because I always put him in the right, I feel like, perspective. Like I don't let my my moves be dictated through artists and athletes. That's just me. I understand what kind of platform and voice they have and how influential they are too. So I understand that, given the wrong platform and them saying the most radical and crazy things, some people are going to latch on to that and start making their moves based on that. So you do have a responsibility with that platform.
Yeah.
Watched about an hour of the Drink Champs interview, and Ye brought up a lot of good points, man. He really did, about the music industry, about the industry in general, entertainment, where we are at, where Jews and Jewish people have gotten their business things right. Also, how the things are filtered in Hollywood through the Jewish voice. It was very, very interesting. A lot to digest, a lot of truth there, and I don't think a lot of people liked it because of the sources coming through. But he's like, to me, he's like one of those people where you got to be like, yeah, that's crazy, Ye. That now you jumping out the window. But some of the stuff you're like, damn, that's a jewel right there. So I just take it at face value. I think that's why I didn't even want to get into the interview with you as much, because I was almost sure you didn't watch it. But I was more concerned with, okay, if he's giving you some nuggets and he's saying some radical things, yeah, it's a car accident, but why censor it? That's everything. Like, to me, I feel like when we start, have we reached the place as a culture where if anybody comes on the scene, and this is my second question to you, have we reached a place as a society and as a culture where if anybody says anything that's counterculture or goes against the populace, are they immediately canceled? And do we just start saying like, well, I don't agree with that, so take them down? I mean, I know Chappelle jumps into this a lot too, but that's kind of like where my thought went. I'm like, let me see what your insight is on this.
I don't believe in cancellation, and it's we're fortunate to live in a society, at least on paper, where the letter of the law is free speech, at least on paper. Mm-hmm. There's always been filters as far as who gets who gets a higher standing platform, though, right? It's like us saying, look, like this person is making a mockery of hip hop, and they're embarrassing themselves in the process, but we can't take the eyes off of them. And then they now set a tone for like what to chase, what to aspire to, as more of a like an anti-hip hop, somebody who's not upholding things, and then people get upset, but it's like, yo, it's working. It's a car accident, and it's like I don't get mad at the individual. I get mad at the values circulating the individual. And I don't believe in cancellation. You don't cancel, but I also don't believe in condoning, like grossly condoning for your own benefit. I feel like that's where it gets messy. And
that's where I'm at. I'm in tracking with you. Go ahead. It's a weird. I feel weird about this, but go ahead.
The worst case scenario actually happened in the 45th president. That truly the worst case scenario. This person talking reckless, where step one or whatever. I mean, I'm sure there are previous steps, but as far as like political campaigning was concerned, was this birther notion, right? So saying like, and the whole thing is so preposterous too, because like his predecessor, the 44th president, Barack Obama, is only radical for his existence. He's radical not for his values, his approach to governing. He has not done everything that sent America upside down. He always governed in ways that are, from what I can gauge, and I'm not a politico, but he always governed in ways that just kind of align with what he felt was in the best interest of America, and at the same time was shitty for it for reasons too. But I really do feel like he tried to do his best, and there's nobody who's ever held a presidential seat has gotten 100% right. You know what I mean? But like,
it's a tough position to have.
Exactly. So this person's only like sort of it's the pendulum swinging, and when the pendulum swings wide one direction, it's going to come back wide in the other direction. The only thing about him that swings wide is that he's born black. With the not to mention the Hussein, and you know what I mean, and that kind of thing. So merely his existence is radical. So the counter to it, the pendulum swinging the other way, is let's get, you know what I mean, this like absolute shit show clown of a human to lead the way. And his sound bites are going viral and his tweets are going viral. It's like, it's the values that concern me. You know what I mean? Like, we live in a capitalist society. And frankly, I don't think a lot of the people who are being, you know, on the fast track to billionaires should be. Not because of them. They're benefiting off of the construct. I don't dig that we feed the pockets of some people that are operating in a way that they operate, while at the same time, some of the most pure people, that the ones that should be kind of upstanding, and that, you know, and it's like, yeah, you're looking at it, Hila, you're crazy. This is rosy lens that you're looking at. It's always the big stick and the one that steps on who kind of got that shark in their blood and all this stuff. It's like, well, yeah, but I don't like it. So I'm gonna just say I don't like it. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, that's just what it is. So, you know, proceed. I'm just gonna use my voice. And a few people that tap in with us to on URF Tone Tuesday. Salute to the third lurker, the quiet person who has not identified themselves in the comments. But I'm gonna just go ahead and say, no, that's not cool. That's my voice. You know, my voice, you know, don't carry like maybe your favorite reality star, but it's my voice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm torn when it comes to that. I guess my feeling about it is this. With the good and the bad, I feel like there's always opportunity to teach. And if you just keep tearing everything down or quote unquote canceling people, or you say, don't show a tweet, don't show a post, don't show anything from Donald Trump. Don't show anything from Ye. Don't show anything from anything that goes against the conventional or popular thought. Then you don't have an opportunity to say to my son or to a young person, you see that right there? This is why this is not right. This is why this is ill-informed. This is why, here's the flip side to that point that he's making. It just doesn't even get articulated. It doesn't mean that people stop thinking like that. It doesn't mean that stop, like, for example, canceling Donald Trump. I'm just going to use him as an example instead of Ye. Canceling Donald Trump doesn't make the person in a trailer park in middle America stop, take down their Confederate flag. Like, oh, we don't have a leader anymore. I don't know what to do. Like our hailed Donald Trump is not, his tweets aren't being heard anymore. No, as a matter of fact, it probably gives revs their engine up higher to be like, I'm getting 2 Confederate flags now because now they're against me. Like they're taking it personal. And I'm like, nah, let that person wave their Confederate flag. Let Donald Trump's tweet go viral so that we can say, do you see how ignorant this is? Do you see that? Do you know what the Confederate War was about? Do you understand that? Like, some people don't even know that war was so long ago. They don't even understand. They think the Confederate flag is just something that the Dukes of Hazzard TV show had on the top of their orange, sports car. You know what I mean? And they're like, man, that's a fashion emblem. That's dope. That's a little flag with the stars on it. It's crossed. Like, they don't even attach it to that. And I feel like there's opportunities to teach in those moments where we're just quick to cancel. And then it bleeds over to me personally to say, like, okay, well, can we not be truth tellers? Can we not call spades a spade? Are we at risk of now being canceled if we call Ye crazy? If we say, hey, that's a crazy point right there. Oh, now you making fun of mental health. You know what I mean? Can I call Lizzo fat? Can I call Akon black? Can I call, like, can I start saying these, like, Like it's can I just say like that's wrong, that's right. I don't believe that. I don't rock with that. Oh, I totally support that. Like, am I not free to say that, or is everything? Are we at risk to get canceled for everything? And that's what starts to be like, man, this is kind of getting scary to me. This is weird.
I do agree. I do think there's like a. I agree with everything you said, especially at the end there. Again, I don't think somebody opting out of having Ye, Trump, whatever on their platform is a cancellation. It's their prerogative. You know, so cancellation is just it's a buzzword. It's a buzzword. You know what I mean? Like the notion of somebody's name getting canceled only actually propels their popularity, right? Like it's that old adage about PR. Like there's no bad press. So you get your name spun up, you did something to get yourself canceled, you go dark, and then you come back better for it. And it's like, yo, what's he gonna look like, or is she gonna look like when they come back? Can you believe they're making this comeback? Like there's really no such thing as cancellation. All I'm saying is Drink Champs, The Shop, these are highly elevated platforms. There's a certain prestige that should be accompanied by anybody who's a guest on there. You are excellent at your craft. Excellence to me is not exhibited through buffoonery and nobody is having Kanye join their show of late for the excellence in his craft. And we know that. His is not like, yo, let's talk about how dope your music is. Hey, yo, you as a producer, you kind of like, you know, you made boom bap go world, you know, mainstream, and no, nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about that. They bringing him on to say, hey, what kind of crazy thing are you gonna do? And that is a reflection of, you know, the ills of the values to me. That's the problem. It's not, you know, because somebody's saying something reckless and providing that teacher moment, it's gonna happen. Sadly, it's gonna happen. It just shouldn't get elevated, right? Like kids are gonna go to school, a kid's gonna make an observation and say the wrong thing. Kids are you know, brutally honest. You know what I mean? So they're gonna say the wrong thing. Kid's gonna come home, hey, Timmy from class said XYZ. All right, well, let's talk about it. You know, son, daughter, like that, those teachable moments are inevitable. We don't need to just elevate, because what's elevated, I feel like, is the, you know, women, you know, if you go to Vegas or somewhere that's like metropolitan or whatever, and you know, where nightlife is kind of the one of the overarching like sort of themes of the city, you know, there's a lot of women that look the same now, right? And if the tone setters in the Kardashians didn't succeed the way they did by certain metrics, they succeed financially, like, and some, right? They succeed in terms of getting their pick of athletic or whatever, just, you know, highly regarded men in the market, right? So if they didn't succeed on these various touch points, would women go alter themselves in the very same way and basically make themselves recreations of these tone setters? It's like, what are we elevating to set the tone? And I think, like, you know, we don't probably talk enough about excellence in ways that should influence the direction of youth, you know, influence the or inform the way, like, our culture is perceived, by our, I mean America's in this case, is perceived beyond these borders. Like, we look crazy. In fact, you know, I feel like we just look nuts from an outsider. You know, we just look nuts, man.
We all look like Ye to the rest of the world.
You look like Ye. You got like,
yeah,
like Herschel Walker out there talking reckless in Georgia, like, and actually vying for a, you know, a seat in politics. I'm like, yo, what's going on in the world where this kind of thing bubbles up? When the election was going down in 2016, I was blind to the eventual outcome. And Saturday Night Live, who obviously is known to like make parody of current affairs, were completely blind to it too, because it's like Trump and his campaign would say something crazy. Saturday Night Live would run these skits with Alec Baldwin as Trump and then Kate McKenna as Hillary Clinton, who was running against him at the time. They would recreate him saying something reckless, and then she would start doing like a celebratory dance, like, "Well, I'm gonna win. Here comes my win," because you're burying yourself. Lo and behold, he's not burying himself, and it's like, oh, if you want to be a president, mind you, Ye ran for president in 2020. So all of this, and I'm pretty sure it's something he wore suggests, suggests that he was running again, or some in politics, and you talked about, I didn't weigh in. I didn't weigh in, and I purposely didn't respond to whatever viewpoints he said with regards to, like, Jewish prominence in entertainment or otherwise. I didn't watch it, and I'm not going to speak on something I didn't see. I did see him wear a White Lives Matter shirt alongside Candace Owens. Now, remove the Jewish component of it. You're a black man. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we even spoke about this briefly last week, but yeah, it was, whatever point he was trying to make, I feel like he could have made the point without taking that route. Now, on the Drink Champs, he addressed it, and he was like, look, it wasn't really about the shirt. It was about Jewish people being able to control Black narratives and Black voices, meaning what he was basically saying was, I'm gonna give you the cliff notes on the show, which I was like, man, that's a great point. It is a great point. He had the White Lives Matter shirt. In order for it to get manufactured and distributed, he had to go through a Jewish manufacturer and distributor. But because they didn't like it and they were getting backlash from Black Lives Matter, they were like, we're not going to print the shirt. We're not going to manufacture the shirt. We're not going to distribute the shirt. But he's a black man. And if you're saying Black Lives Matter because you're erring on the side of Black Lives Mattering, you shouldn't be censoring anything that he says. You should just put the shirt out because that's your job. So he's saying, he brought up another great point, even through music. We have the little perps out there. We got the little yachties. We got all of these kind of music. Well, who do you have to go through to get your music distributed, licensed, and signed to a record deal most of the time? Who owns the majority of record label? Who owns the majority of even like iHeart and all of the record labels, radio stations across America? That's Jewish. So they're complicit in green lighting the messaging that's going out as Black voice. There's a lot of great positive Black voices and Black rappers out there that are spitting nothing but a positive message. But if you got to go through the Jewish community for it to get green light and okay to even get played in mainstream, then who's controlling the Black voice? Now listen, that is a hell of a point. That's a great point. I don't think that's anti-Semitic. I think that's what Farrakhan would probably say. And people would be like, hell yeah, that's right. But it's coming from Farrakhan. It's a point that needs to be made. Black people need to take back our own narratives. We need to put out the messaging that we know will benefit us and our communities. And we need to take control of ownership of, he made a point. He said, how many Black artists are signed to a Jewish lawyer, a Jewish record label, or have to go through the voice of the Jewish community to get greenlit? How many Black labels have a Jewish artist on them? under them. Probably not. You're never going to see a Jewish artist under a black label or black ownership. That's, you know what I mean? That's because they have maximized pooling their money together, pulling their resources together, doing things together. And that's a lesson that I feel like could be learned from African Americans. That's for real what Farrakhan is really big on. Like, yo, let's get back to us. It just sounds different coming from Farrakhan than it does from Ye. And so, like I'm saying, like, you really got to separate the wheat and the chaff. Again, I hated the shirt. Your initial point was, how did I feel as a black person? Yeah. I hated the shirt.
Yeah, but even if he has some broader point and it's jarring. It's like hella offensive, and for him to be dismissive, because I did see enough in my quick scrolling through the phone, like for him to be like, what they do, and it's like, yeah, but you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? If everybody actually believed in that one day, in 2020 and the uprisings of 2020, when everybody put the black boxes on there as a picture, right? If everybody actually believed in that as a symbol, obviously it was like kind of debunked or whatever, like on that day. And then he put a white box and he's like, what? It's a white box. But it's like these things symbolize something. Hey, I just burned an American flag. What? It's just cloth. Like, you can dumb down literally anything, but things work. I don't like the notion that words are just words and they can't hurt. Words can hurt. Symbolism hurts. What you communicate has impact. And so I don't like the dismissal of it. And then for him to spin and say, oh no, I'm just trying to provoke thought. Well, provoke your thought. Don't say nothing hurtful. As far as whether it's, like through a Jewish network of people or otherwise, that have positions of power and control and can be filtering. What up? That's for Peace Move. Like, you can make your point without that, because it's like, to me, it's like, what is being listened to? Any businessman, I put the ownership on people. Always put it on people, and yes, platforms matter, but to me, it's never broad stroke enough. I grew up in a Jewish household because my mom worked a job, and my best friend growing up is Jewish. Dad worked in engineering or something. Like, it has nothing to do. So to just throw, like slander towards a whole people that's going to affect somebody I know dearly, like family, is like, well, that shit doesn't apply to, I don't know what he said, but I know there was some anti-Semitism, and I know there was some, well, maybe Hitler wasn't such a bad guy type stuff.
But that's crazy. It
is crazy. That's crazy. You can't like just pick and choose and say, well, that's a good point. But like, you say something crazy, then you spin it. Donald Trump literally did this shit, but none of them are very smart guys or articulate guys. Farrakhan is a smart and articulate guy. I don't know enough about Farrakhan. I've only seen clips of him where he's checkmating whoever's on the other side, opposing him in a conversation. I just don't like elevating things because they're messy. Yo, this is messy. Like, just because a car accident slows traffic don't mean you should go out and run your car into a wall. You know what I mean? Let me like my car fired against the traffic.
No. And I agree with that. But on the flip side of that coin, I don't like throwing out.
Sorry, real quick, Paul. We're talking about the principle. Talking about the principles surrounding that guy, less that guy. Like, where are we at as a society where any narrative is going on around him? Does he deserve to be on a platform? Is it okay to yank the platform? And that's kind of where we shooting the breeze on.
Yeah, I feel like, again, on the flip side of the point you made, I feel like you got to be able to call a spade and say, all right, well, that's a legitimate point. Like, it's coming from a crazy person, but crazy people make good points all the time. And you just got to be like, the point that he made was right. That's a fair narrative. Like, okay, that's cool. Like, it's, for example, like, we're talking about Trump. Trump got ASAP Rocky out of jail, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, yo, you
Yeah.
need to get him out, blah, blah. He got him out of jail. I feel like it's okay to be like, hey, good job, Trump. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And
That's fine.
and you know, the most funding towards the HBCUs, like, yeah.
Good job, Trump.
Yeah.
Of course. Like, I don't have to rock with you. I don't have to like you. But again, like, we got to a point, I feel like, as a culture where if you hate somebody or you don't like somebody or you don't agree with somebody, you gotta hate. It's almost like polarizing from the person. Like, I gotta hate everything they do. I can't give him no kudos on it. It's like, no, you can. I don't mean you gotta be bosom buddies. I don't mean you gotta hang out. But if Lil Perp drops a dope song as a DJ, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's dope.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like any of the other material that you've ever dropped in your life, but this one banger that you have here, this is a banger. This is that one. So I don't like. We have become polarizing on the opposite end, where we are like, I feel like digesting it. Like, I'll give you a point. This is kind of off topic, but like with the whole LeBron and them being canceled, like I almost feel like because their track record has been so stellar.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I heard about them canceling Ye from the shop, at one point I was like, damn, I wonder why they're doing that. I wonder, are they under some scrutiny from Nike? I wonder, are their relationship with different business avenues in jeopardy if they let Ye have that platform? But then I step back and I'm like, man, when have we ever known LeBron and Maverick and all of them people to do something like that? They really move in a very solid 100 manner. So I'm like, maybe this is where I landed. I was like, maybe they just watched the interview before they aired it and was like, yo, man, we got to protect this dude from himself, man. This can actually mess his thing up. It ain't gonna mess our stuff up, but it can mess his stuff up. And as another black man to another black man, like, let's protect this guy from himself. Let's just opt to not air it. Cool. I was like, bet, you know what? I'm going to land on that because their track record has proven that that's how they rock and that's how they move anyway. Now, when he got canceled from the Drink Champs joint, when they ripped everything down, I'm like, that's kind of whack. Like, what are y'all doing now? Because y'all already aired the interview.
Yeah.
Now are y'all getting scrutiny and backlash on the back end? And now you're like, oh man, this is going to mess up our bread. Let's tear this down to be quote unquote politically correct. And I hate that. I hate when you get pressure or pressed into a corner by anybody with an agenda to take your stuff down because, we're going to boycott the show. Or you said something. You said Lizzo was fat. Now the whole fat community is coming out saying we're not going to watch Drink Champs no more because you called Lizzo fat. Well, hold on. I have the right to call Lizzo fat. If I think that she's fat, she may beg to differ, but I can at least keep that opinion. And now you're pressing me to kind of like, well, you got to take that interview down where you said she was fat because we don't agree with it. Then I start to get like, man, I don't know if I like this. I don't like where this is going. This rubs me the wrong way. I feel like this is not. I don't want to be a part of this. But with like I said, with the shop interview, I was like, okay, I get it. I will err on the side of giving them the benefit of the doubt because they've deserved that. They've earned that. They've never done anything out of pocket. With the Revolt interview and the Drink Champs interview, them taking it down, I felt a certain type of way. I was like, man, I don't like this. I don't like this because if I didn't agree with everything he said in that interview, but it was already out there, it's already for the public to digest, and you should let it live out there and just say there's some teachable moments here, and let's call a spade a spade. If he's talking crazy, let's call it crazy. If he's making a good point, let's kudos the good point.
Yeah, I feel like, listen, if your bottom line is strictly on your money, then the traffic that comes in, you're going to be fickle. And that's what that was. It's not a rescue moment. It's not a rescue moment for Kanye West. Like, hey, let's give him a platform. It's the bottom line. Even if you convince yourself that that's the truth, the bottom line is, yo, this dude was just canceled. He's bubbling. He's going crazy. We could get him on our show. Let's do it. It'll turn some heads, yada, yada. and they did it based on that, and they saw that it didn't work based on like as it relates to that same bottom line, and so they bucked. Like you can't have both. You can't elevate the show because you think it's going to help your money and then retract the show because you think it's going to hurt your money. There's no principle in any of it. And that's
I just let it live. Yes, go ahead.
Well, sure, let it live, but don't do it based on money in the first place. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, if you that's the decision you made, sure, you're going to have to take your L. But at the same time, I have things that you said in the midst of it that I'm like, I just don't agree, because I regardless of if there's a good point somewhere in the midst of it, the bottom line principle is, yo, this man is just a walking shit show right now. Let's get him on here. It's gonna be funny, and I don't like that. I don't like that, no. And I don't think it's, I'm aware of Lizzo body type, but I just don't know why it's important to discuss. I don't even know honestly why it's a discussion. She makes good music and whatever, like.
But my point is this: we're held hostage as, let's take her out of the piss. Can we call Akon black? Can we be like, damn, that's a dark dude? Like, like you can't say anything that is against conventional or popular thought, or you run the risk of getting canceled. And
I mean, I don't know that Akon's complexion and Lizzo's body type sit in the same category. I mean, Tyson Beckford is darkly complected and was regarded for a long time as the best looking guy all around. You know what I mean? And so
I'm not saying it in a good versus good looking versus not good. I'm just saying
but my point. That's my, and I don't think you are, yeah. But I think my point is, I don't feel like, extra weight is like, having somebody being overweight has ever been held in a flattering or sold in a flattering sense. So it's like, to me, it's like, why even talk about it? Like, I just don't. I mean, I'm like, you don't have to be. It's patronizing to be like, oh no, she looked great. She's real, slender. Like if you overstate in the other direction. Now you're being patronizing.
That's where we're at right now. That's Rachel and I
don't even know why it's a conversation. Like this is, I'm looking at society like, why is this a conversation? Why have I seen like this person, Ari Spears weighs in on Lizzo's body type? Like, why? Lizzo saying she looks good. Fine, great. Feel your confidence. The one of the hardest things to do on an individual scale is to look at yourself before you leave the house and be like, I feel good.
And that I'm not mad at.
Yeah.
You know me. I'm the ultimate. Ain't nobody gonna cheerlead for NIC more than NIC. But I'm like, so that I'm not mad at. What I'm mad at is Lizzo says I'm the baddest girl in the room. Fine, Lizzo. You think that. You believe that. I think you should think that. What I get upset at is Nick says, I don't think you're the baddest chick in the room. And everybody is like, hey, you let her, you're like, hold up. I'm saying, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? Like,
but you know how colorful people will be in there. People go for the punchline. Like, if you could say, I don't agree with that. If people were like, hey, here's the question. Yes or no answer, please. Is Lizzo the baddest chick in the game right now? Off of her physical attributes alone. If somebody like, no, like that's not, but if she's like, I'm bad, and you feel the need to take her down 10 pegs and just be like, you ain't bad, you this and that, like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why? I just question. I understand these things exist, and I just like, I don't want to. I feel like it's also worth saying, hey man, if somebody's feeling okay about themselves, that's not an easy feat, and you'd be surprised. Like I would actually, yeah. Like I wouldn't be surprised personally if somebody like a Beyonce or J-Lo or somebody who's been given flattery just strictly for their looks their whole life, how difficult it might be for them to get out of the house and say like, yeah, all right, I'm on. Like you had to get your shit together and be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm living up to billing today. So it could be somebody is, we talking strictly on the superficial, highly regarded as that, could be somebody anywhere on the spectrum. It's not easy to get yourself to say, hey, I'm good. And then Lizzo's doing it. She say, hey, you're good too.
Listen, Earth Tone is like that's probably one of our soapbox moments. Like we're against anybody coming out and just trying to go for the radical just for the radical. Like that's
yes.
I think that if you're a fan or you've ever tuned in to URF Tone Tuesday, that's something that we stand on. Like we don't feel like you need to do the shock jock thing. We don't think you need to go out and grandstand, and we definitely don't think that you need to use your words to hurt people. We want to use our words to elevate people. But with that said, Nicholas, I'm just saying Nicholas, I also feel like there is space to just tell the truth. Just the truth. I just want to hear the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. Not intentionally, but sometimes the truth hurts. I gotta be honest with my son. That ain't the move right there, son. You know what I mean? I gotta be honest with my wife. I gotta be honest with you. Hey man, I don't like this song. Oh man, you hating. I'm not hating, man. I'm telling you how I feel about it. You see what I'm saying? And we've gotten to a culture, we've gotten to a place as a culture and a society where I feel like everything needs to be cheerleaded and bubble wrapped and candy coated, and you just can't simply just say, again, it's not that I'm hating.
Yeah,
I just don't like it. I don't have to go on Twitter and blast it. But if you're on Twitter and we're on that platform, then I'm gonna say, yeah, I don't like it.
It really, what we're speaking on right now is the pendulum swing. It's because at least my theory is that it's because everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice, and people abuse their power. And I remember the first time I felt it personally was when Twitter first came about. I'm releasing songs as Icon at the time, and whoever. No, it wasn't about me. I'm just noticing how people are responding to music in general. But because I was actively releasing, it resonated with me. I'm like, oh, everybody's an A&R now. Every single body gets to play A&R. This project came out, I don't know, kind of weak, but nobody was doing anything bad. They were doing the conversations that we used to have in the street, but the street or whatever, the schoolyard or whatever. But those conversations, they began and ended among the 6 of you that were hanging out in that moment, right? That's it. But this conversation taps into a network across the globe all the time. And with that power, everybody going for it. There was a tweet I saw today, and I actually responded from the crash. Like, this is my Twitter's where I go for the Lakers. Season starts today. I'm a little hype and all that. So I'm on looking at the NBA news on Twitter, and then some handle put some, and I obliged with the response. I said, name 2 things that don't mix in sports. I said, fans and Twitter. Because nobody could be like, oh, you're from, New York, you like the Knicks. I'm out here on the West Side, I like the Lakers. It can't just be that, Nah, you're bums. You never, it's like, whoa, hold on, man. Yo, you ain't gonna be shit this year. Wait, what is happening? I just want to watch my thing in peace. I just want to watch the team I root for in peace. So, like, I don't get it. There's so much of what's going on right now that I don't get. Because people are so reckless, because they get to hide behind this shit and they don't get the 2-piece, there becomes policing voices to try to offset it. And I think that's what URF Tone is, somewhere in the middle. Like, nah, you can call your spade a spade. You don't need to do it in such a harsh manner. If something is not pretty, like, this is fundamental kindergarten rules. Like, you don't have something nice to say, don't say it. Like, but if somebody's talking and you're just like, nah, I don't agree with that. But like, it's not, I don't agree with that. It's like, I don't agree with that, and your mother ain't shit. Like, it's
Right.
like, it's just so everything is so reckless. So now you got people who are trying to quiet it, like, hey, we'll cancel you. So be nice, be nice. And nobody knows how to be nice because everybody gets to live unless you're like on, right? You're like, you get to live in autonomy and say whatever you want to say. It's like, can you just be like, you know, I have an idea in my mind of what normal is, you know? Like, I got an idea of what normal is, but we're not being it. Like, I just want to be normal. I just want to go and be like, yo, I mean, well, I'm not here to kill you with my words to prove a point. Like, it's not even about that. You know, I get lost in all of this, man. So I feel like all of these little points that we're speaking on today, they connect, but it's like the most jarring tweet trends, you know, the hottest take, the most controversial thing trends. And it's like, nobody putting Ye on because he made that one good point amidst reckless talk. Why are we elevating recklessness at every turn? Yo, this is must see. This car is up in flames right now. Everybody go this way. Oh, everybody go that way. It's like,
that's the nature of the beast, though. You already know that's how the industry is set up, though. That's, you know what I mean.
It's not industry. I think it's human nature, and we're getting
of course, but industry as well,
yeah. So I don't blame any record executive, Jewish or otherwise, who's like, yo, the shit show is on right now. So find me somebody who is an absolute mess. So two things can be true. Somebody's being an astute businessman, and Kanye's mad at him because across the board, a lot of those execs and decision makers are Jewish. According to him, I haven't done enough research, but whatever. And at the same time, hip hop being primarily a Black cultivated art form should also reap the benefits of it as industry as well. So that can exist, and this can exist. And I don't know who, if the focus is always just like, yo, which way are the people moving? I don't know, Black, Asian, Jewish, Middle Eastern, whoever would be like, yo, this way people are moving. Well, then, give me the kid that's going to do a backflip into a, pile of elephant shit while rapping a song,
Yeah, no, listen, I don't want to confuse it with I'm anti-Semitic. I don't even think he was coming. I didn't receive it as he was coming across that way. I think it was more of a call to Black people. Let's get, like Farrakhan. I don't think when Farrakhan speaks, he is being anti-Semitic. I think it's more of a rallying cry to Black people. Let's get our house in order. Let's do our own thing. Let's start to own our own record companies. Let's start to create our own avenues of mass communications where we can start to speak to ourselves, pull in our resources together, create our own situations. So there is no one pigeonholing us into, y'all gotta release this kind of music. You know what I mean? If we create our own vehicles, then we could say, all right, y'all can release that. Y'all can release, yes, exactly. So that's not being anti, that's more being pro, let's get our house in order. That's kind of how I received it. And that's, to me, always a great point. What up, Chris?
What up, Fader?
So that's kind of how I received it. And again, I always fall back on just like with the shop stuff and LeBron, and kind of like, we are all creatures of habit. So I'm always going to err on the side of giving you the benefit of the doubt. When I see you rock a certain way, do a certain thing, your morals and your habits are a certain way, I err on the side of, which would be great. I would be all for that.
If we were profiting, at a certain level from music alone, I would 100% agree to that tax of contributing to this union to ensure, like, the OGs get to retire and then get taken care of when when we go into twilight. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm all for that.
But here's the flip side to that coin, Dora. I'm for it, because just like as an actor, you got the Screen Actors Guild, blah blah blah, but only like the top 3% of the people that are in the Screen Actors Guild are actually reaping the benefits and really making any money. All the rest of the Screen Actors Guild is struggling, starving actors. So my point to that is, we wouldn't even need retirement, medical, any of that for artists if we just owned our vehicle. There's enough money and enough bread to be made. You understand the billions of dollars that hip hop is making? If we owned it, everybody would be able to pay their own medical. Everybody would be able to pay their
I don't
own.
agree with that, respectfully. I think greed always wins, unfortunately. So I think somebody is going to understand how to exploit somebody else and does not, pander to shared cultural nepotism. Is like, oh, let me help the fellow. This is not singular to any race. Somebody always takes advantage of somebody else in business. So I do think there's union, and I disagree. Given that my wife, she's a singer and she has successfully navigated enough platforms to know what it was like when she did something for a TV camera versus when she's doing something that is for the local music bar that's like more of a cultural hub as far as musicians are concerned. But as soon as you're on a TV set, there are baseline minimums to take care of people. You cannot pay people in exposure. So having a structure of union, it sets even if it's minimum wage, like even if you are a PA on the set, like you have to adhere to certain things within the confines of that. Versus music, it's ragtag, and you just out here. It's like, oh yeah, I used to put so many unclocked OT hours in just for survival, like just to maybe for the consideration if I may get a look and all that. That shit ain't right. When you work in a mailroom, it's not like you changing the world, but you work in the mailroom and it's like, hey, we got to pay you a certain way, and you're gonna get your medical and you're gonna get that. I don't believe the person at the top is always. They might, we talked about presidents today. Some are good, some are bad, but somebody assumes the top dog seat. It's like, yo, let me go ahead and put a little extra on me. Hey, but we, I'm a 5th tier rapper down. I'm not, making crazy money, but like I got a little bit. That's all right. I'm gonna make sure it's good in my pocket.
Yeah, I can't speak on that because I can only speak from the place of Screen Actors Guild, which I have been a member of for 20 some odd years. Yeah. And that trickle down don't never trickle down. So the union, it didn't protect me. I don't feel like it's. Yeah, then you got to work every year to even get the medical benefits. So like if you're not, again being in Hollywood, if you're not doing a commercial, if you're not doing a sitcom, if you're not doing something in TV every year, which is hard because the pool is getting bigger and bigger, you got to audition for parts. So let's just say you have a bad year, then all of that gets stripped away. You don't get to reap the benefits. And so again, it would really weigh heavily on how things were organized in a union. But I'm more for ownership. I'm more for, if we own more of the pie. Just like I always say, this diversifying rooms, diversifying different things. Like you can't have, and I don't want to harp on this because then it's going to sound anti-Semitic. But if you have one culture, let's just say that that is the predominantly all of the legal, owns all of the record stations, and is the dominant owner of all the record labels, and they're all kind of working together. Dave Chappelle talks about this in one of his stand-ups, where it's like the pimp comes in the room and they take out the dead guy, and everybody's kind of working for each other, and the only person that doesn't know about it, that all of these people are in cahoots with each other, is you. You know what I mean? You got one culture that is the lawyers, the record labels, and the record stations. And in order to get signed or to make any moves in the music industry, you got to go through these gatekeepers. I don't think that that's right. And I feel like just like with the H&M thing that went on with the what is smartest monkey in the jungle, like if you don't have a black person in that room to say, I don't know if this is the right message we should have on this shirt. You know what I mean? If you don't have women, if you don't have men, if you don't diversify the room, then that's when it starts to get ugly. And so I'm just big on that, like ownership and diversity. Ownership and diversity.
Hey, Doris said my thought right here. Like I don't disagree. As far like I said, like it's an art form cultivated primarily by Black American culture, and then I would even venture to say some Latinos should be involved, and then you get the island based immigrants, even though they may be American on paper and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But because the art form was developed that way, the industry should be run that way as well. And at the same time, I just don't think that's where the buck stops. And you're right too. And I see like it's the constructs of the union that are going to tell the whole story. I actually, so you spoke, and that's a totally not only fair, but like extra validated testimony because of your background in acting. So I didn't mean to overlook that. But I just know like whatever I've told like people, because the bottom for music is zero. Like there is nothing. There's no structure. Like there's nothing. And it's like if you made $1 million on a show because you were popping and it's 2022 and you just got paid $1 million on a show, then you broke your leg or something and you fell back into the abyss. You got that $1 million, but you burn it on, whatever you burn it on quickly, some fast living type of lifestyle. And then you fast forward to 2045 or something. And it's just like, I didn't ever get a chance to resurface. And it's like, done. I mean, I'm sure that's not good as far as the retirement and that particular aspect of SAG as well. But like, it's not hip hop exclusive music, any genre. It's like, yeah, hey, come through, bring 150 people to this bar. Can't pay you, but it'll be great exposure. Right? Why don't you cut up some content and share it with people to let them know how popping you are? It's like, what? No, I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So but there's a place where everything we're saying kind of exists together. Again, like I realize a lot of the conversation we have is idealistic, and at the same time, not voicing it, accepting hopelessness is not the option to me, at least. It's not like you at least got to voice it, even though this scientifically doesn't make sense, that whole notion of shoot for the moon, land on the stars, it don't really work that way. But the principle of that, the message, the fundamental message in that is, I think, should continue to prevail. Like, at least aspire to do this right. At least say something that's like, yo, yeah, let's take care of the pioneers and the trailblazers and the people ahead of us in hip hop. And to your point, and this is a question I have. I'm not saying it's done, but it obviously, like, turnover and stuff like that in business I imagine it has to happen very slowly. If you got a stronghold on something and then you're born into it, you're that next year, the second, you're the third, you're the fourth generation, and this is a system. There's a system that sort of just like the constructs of it exists, and so you identify one culture. It's like, and so Jews have had a lot of sort of strength and prowess within this industry, but at the same time, a shift would have to be slow given the legacies in it. And then you fast forward to now and you're like, well, all right, Jay's become a giant. Puff's become a giant. If you scale it down a little bit, you're like, Herbie Lovebug, he had a whole crew going. If you take it back to the 80s, Marley Marl had the Juice Crew. Like, so there's definitely opportunities, and part of the fun thing, and the only reason URF Tone can really exist the way that we do, you don't need to go through anybody, especially somebody to kind of full circle it, especially somebody at Ye's level. Ye, and I said this when we got together last week. I said the disappointing thing about Ye, if it's not 100%, mental health related episodes that are underway, which is very much a reality and possibility, right? But if it's like, yo, this is my diabolical scheme, I'm gonna say, off-color things and be controversial and keep my name bubbling. The thing that disappointed me that we talked about last week, if that's the case, it's like you're not giving enough credit to your work. You're amazing, and you don't need publicity stunts to get that across.
And that's what I said about the shirt. Remember, I'm like, man,
Yes.
if you're calling yourself a genius, which he is not hesitant to say ever, he will always reference himself as a genius. You couldn't have thought of a more creative way to shock and even if your objective is to shock and awe.
Right.
If you're a genius, you can think of a genius way to shock and awe people other than this, because this shirt was ridiculous. That was a ridiculous way of creating shock and awe. You could have actually put your genius mind to work and been like, yo, I'm gonna do something out of left field that's gonna rock the world, and it's gonna make them actually validate that I am a genius, instead of just sparking up controversy and hate.
Absolutely. And at the same time, he is in that very rare air of elite legend in music that's still going, that's still in that's young enough and so on, and able enough to continue to cook, where he doesn't need any campaign. He's in that very rare air that can say, hey, I dropped the project, and everybody will go running. Obviously Beyonce, obviously Hove, like there's a tier down from them even that qualify. And saying somebody's a tier down from J and B and Ye, like, it's not an insult, just to be clear. But like, J. Cole can do that. Drake can do that. Hey, by the way, I just dropped the project, and the people will go running, and everybody's gonna give their takes on it, and it'll be the talk of social media and the world at large. Like, he can do that. So it don't need to be controversial, and it certainly don't need to be like reckless when you're that good. And to go back to my original point, it's like, hey man, like, you don't need a gatekeeper either. I know how it helps. Obviously somebody's winning more by getting the loan, because that's what it is. When you're a signed artist, you're essentially signing a loan. And then if you're gonna uphold the appeal of an artist, you are furthering your debt, by living flashy and spending beyond your means. You still haven't paid your loan back. That's what you're doing. You don't need to do that. Just like Kanye, who I said is at the elite, if you are actually nice, bet on yourself. Put the music out. There's nothing you got to, I believe it's like something like $35 or something to that effect, just to put as much music out as you want for a year on DistroKid or something. Not to be their spokesperson. DistroKid, can we get a discount on the next drop? The shout out. But if you're that nice, just be it. I don't know. Again, idealism, but that's why I'm gonna speak from.
That's what I love about you, man. Listen, you inspire me, and I think I want to be an optimist, an eternal optimist.
In a lot of cases, you are much more than me.
So yeah, but again, it sometimes rubs me the wrong way. Here's another thing about Ye as we get out of here, because I know the Lakers game is coming on. I want to watch it. You want to watch it, but
yeah, man, I got a Chipotle and Lakers date.
Yeah, I feel like if you are going to be a genius and you are going to be a radical and you're going to stand on things and you're multi-talented, you don't get the luxury of saying things and then hiding under the other, under the other umbrella that you put out there. So you say things radical as I'm this outspoken, activist. And then as soon as you get heat for it, you're like, well, man, I'm an artist. You got to respect me for my art, man. I'm an artist. You know, I'm not an activist. I'm an artist. And then you put out some crazy stuff as an artist, and everybody's like, man, what is this craziness right here? And you're like, oh man, I'm an activist. I'm a fashion designer. Like, yo,
right.
You know, you got to let me design my thing. And then you put out some crazy ass work boots, and everybody's like, yo, I would never rock those. There was some ugly joints right there. You're like, oh man, you got to understand, man, I'm an activist. These boots they're made from, recycled, whale, juices. I don't know, you're going crazy. And it's like every time you're playing this shell game, it's like 3-card month. You just like, every time somebody give you beat, like, so me, the people that I respect, the KRS-Ones, the Chuck D's of the world, they're like, look, I'm a rapper, I'm an activist.
Yeah.
And when I say something, I'm gonna stand on it 10 toes down. Nip, all of these people, they're like, yo, if you don't like it, then you just got to deal with it.
Right.
I'm more like that. I feel like I'm more like that. And this is where I would give a Tupac or who, and I don't give Tupac a lot, but like, look, just be who, if you're gonna be radical, you know what I mean? He was radical. Tupac was radical. He wasn't always right. I don't necessarily even agree with a lot of the stuff but he was like 10 toes down. Like, this is how I feel. This is what I believe. And I'm not going to hide under the artist umbrella when it's convenient for me. Just go out there and be like, this is what I believe. And if you rock with me, you rock with me. If you don't, you don't. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I sum up the whole Ye situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. It's almost something of like a social experiment, and so, I mean, even though we just spent a damn hour talking about it, more often than not, I prefer to take the position of like spectator, like how are people moving on this? And I really hope that's the takeaway from the conversation, is that I don't care to dignify his actions and his controversies. I care to speak on how culture circulating those controversies responds, because it's an ongoing pattern, and I think that's worth addressing. And I'm happy to have that conversation with you, who inspires me as well and always provokes stimulating conversations, which is, the backbone of URF Tone Tuesday. So we appreciate y'all. We taking a couple weeks off. Worth noting, we're going to take a couple weeks off. NIC mentioned last week he may just hop on IG live from his own handle just to say what up on behalf of the team. So keep an eye out. If it goes down, it does. If not, it's all good.
Listen, well, we might be canceled after this show anyway. So they might be like, oh, they got canceled.
We lost all 4 viewers. Well, we appreciate all 4 for real. And we'll be back like second week in November, following real ones, in fact. So hopefully I got my jet legs back under me by the time, because I just have gotten back. But my intention is to get down at the next real ones, and hope to see some of y'all there. And we appreciate you. See you in 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.